Okay, good morning, academic literacy. I'm going to walk through the answer key, and the goal here is for you to compare this to your work and see if your review guide is in A quality shape as we go into our assessment for the end of the week. So feel free to stop the screencast periodically. You might want to add comments or information to your own review guide to be sure that you have a really high quality finalized document to help you prepare for the end of week assessment. So the first thing we're going to look at is our annotations. Obviously, mine is going to look a little bit different than yours because your annotations will be your own. But what you want to look at here is the quantity of annotations and the variety of annotations, and just kind of check against mine to see that you think that you have all the annotations that are asked for in this checklist. So there was a prediction, some actively read steps, some stop and summarize steps, and then finally this kind of end of text reflection. So you want to be sure that you have all of these different kinds of annotations to be sure to get an A on this skill. So the first thing I did was I stopped and I made a prediction. You're welcome to see what I have there, but I'll just kind of walk through it. I made sure to ask a question. Remember, a question isn't always if you're confused. Sometimes a question can just be like an I wonder statement. So here I was wondering, what does this mean for me? How long will it take for me to get the vaccine? So I wasn't necessarily confused, but I was questioning the text a little bit. So sometimes I'll hear students say, well, I didn't have any questions. I understood the whole thing, and that's great. But you can always ask a question that begins with I wonder, or how will this affect me? And you're kind of still questioning without necessarily being confused. Although certainly you could ask the confusion question as well. I have some different text to self connections. Here is I'm saying my parents aren't in a retire home, but they're around 70. I wonder what that means for me. So I'm trying to include some different text connections. I don't go more than a few paragraphs without stopping to summarize. So you can see my first one here. Here's a text to text connection, another article I read. A visualization as I'm reading this thing about hospital staff. I'm kind of visualizing, I'm seeing something in my head, so I'm just describing what that visualization is. Another stop and summarize. I kind of use the section headings as a reminder that I shouldn't go much further before I stop and summarize there. Here's another question, how do you register? And a final stop and summarize at the end. And then I added this final reflection because if you notice in the checklist, it did ask me to do a step 4, which is to kind of do something with the information, write a little reflection at the end. So I just kind of reflected and said, wow, I'm surprised that things are already underway. This is encouraging, right? People are already getting vaccinated. This is a really positive thing. Okay, so you can kind of look at my annotations, compare them to yours. Did you have all the different kinds? Are they as frequent and high quality as mine are? And feel free to stop right now and add any more in that you feel like maybe you missed. Maybe you didn't have all the annotations from the checklist or you just didn't have as many. And then you can continue when you're ready. Okay, skill number 2 is literal comprehension. This one was pretty minimal here, but it was just asking you a very literal question about the article based on the information in the article. Where are we in the process of distributing the vaccines? So I just wrote, we are in the very beginning stages of distribution with the first rounds being sent out. Healthcare workers in retirement communities are the first to get vaccinated. So just kind of a literal answer to where we are in the process at the very beginning, who's gotten it so far, that kind of thing. Okay, the paraphrase you did work with um, your teacher on, so I won't go through that at length, but you can see when you have access to the key, if you'd like to go back and look at it, feel free. So we'll skip over that for now. Textual evidence. The question that we were trying to investigate is what can we expect about the distribution of the COVID vaccine? And I thought that evidence that answered that the best was kind of the final section where it said like where Lake County is in the distribution process, when the general public can expect to receive the vaccine. So I pulled that evidence out. And then I kind of remember always connecting it back to the essential question here. I said this helps us to answer the guiding question about what we can expect from distribution, as it tells us we are at the beginning phases with high-risk residents of Lake County getting the first doses. The rest of the public won't be getting a vaccine until later on in the year, so we can expect to wait. Eventually, we can expect a drive-through style vaccine distribution. So again, I'm just kind of answering what we can expect from the distribution process based on this evidence that I pulled out here. You might have pulled different evidence out, that would be fine. But I think this evidence at the end really helped give a nice overview of what we can expect from the distribution process as we go forward here. Last couple of questions were vocab and context. The first question asked about preliminary. The best answer was early. A couple things I might have pulled out from the sentence would have said first and begun. Both of those tell me that I'm at the beginning of the process. So the sentence says first and begun, so the best meaning is early, because the sentence is focusing on how we are at the start of the process. The next one had to do with the word sparking. The portal is called AllVax, and it lets Lake County residents register for the coronavirus. Vaccine received notifications and scheduled their appointments, already sparking 50,000 people to sign up. The best answer is encouraging. And I wrote because the sentence says register and 50,000 people to sign up. So the best meaning is encouraging because all vax is getting a lot of people to register or sign up. It's not forcing anybody. So that one forcing doesn't really work because people are voluntarily signing up. It's not confusing anyone, and it's certainly not preventing them if 50,000 people are signing up. So encouraging was the best answer there. So you'll have a few more of those kind of questions on the actual assessment, but this sort of gives you a little taste of what that will look like. All right, so hopefully walking through this answer key helped provide you some information, and you're feeling super confident as we approach our assessment at the end of the week.